What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Growth is Hard podcast, where we break generational cycles, curses, and become the best possible version of ourselves. Today, I have an interview with a lovely friend of mine. I am so excited to have her on the podcast, get to know about her story, and we have a topic that has been weighing on her mind and her heart a lot lately, and it's something that I feel like really needs to be discussed, especially with his former passing. But before we get into all that, let's hit the intro.
My soul wanna break up the labyrinth, I too wanna break up the casket. I do, then they wonder what happened. Back from the dead, I should've said it was killing me. I set up boundaries, Trump with the border, and now you're supporting the immigration. Cause I've been there when you needed me most, to get you high even when I was low. Did it then, but I don't do it no more, man. Growth is hard. 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 Growth is always worth it. Growth is growth is growth is growth is
What is up, everybody? We are back, and we have the Susie Rogers with us, beloved friend of mine, phenomenal, just individual all around, really active in her community, the Native community. Go ahead, tell us about yourself, Susie.
Hi. I am your friend. I've been your friend for quite some time. I am very active. I do have a nonprofit located here in Oklahoma City. I also do have 2 LLCs. Whatever else you want me to speak about.
So what is it like running a nonprofit? What made you want to get into that?
Oh, man. So I've been wanting to actually form a nonprofit since I was 15 years old. And so it's just been a dream of mine. I've sat on the board of Kalechi Travel Town, which will be my tribe. It's located, their headquarters are located in Duncan, Oklahoma. I did do a term with them. So I just kind of got the outline. They're not a nonprofit, but they're kind of ran like a nonprofit. So I got to see how many people that they were able to assist. I got to see how things were formed, guidelines. So I just took that information and opened up my dream.
Man, I know I've been recently thinking about starting a nonprofit myself, just to kind of help get things a lot smoothened out as far as like the process we did last year with our donation towards Positive Tomorrows. That would just make it so much easier as far as filing everything, getting everything organized. Do you want to tell them about Positive Tomorrows, what we did last year?
Yeah, I would love to. I was actually telling someone about that earlier today, because they were thinking about, doing a, back to school bash too. And so what we did last year was we did take donations. So there was a lot of donations that was material donations, like physical donations, and as well as cash donations. So we had enough to bring in a massive amount of supplies. We did take clothes as well as shoes for the children that are at Positive Tomorrows. Now, Positive Tomorrows is a very special school. They are helping homeless individuals, homeless families, get back on their feet, but they're giving children a stable ground where they're comfortable going every day. They do summer programs with them also, so it's amazing that we got to assist them.
Oh yeah, it was an entire blessing being a part of that, and especially it was something I was introduced really early in 2017, actually, with the SEMS program over at OCCC, and it was something I had never thought about until I went there, because nothing about having a place to get an education, let alone, a place to stay, ever crossed my mind as far as like, being homeless, let alone being a homeless child. So having a place to go to school or a place to even shower or, get a guaranteed 1 to 2 meals a day had never crossed my mind before. But knowing that something like that was out there just really, filled me with a lot of joy and hope for humanity, because somebody had thought of it where I couldn't, or so many others have it, and just being able to help out just meant the world.
Correct. I mean, if no one has went and did a tour, should really go do a tour. It's an amazing place. I was actually in tears. I think I cried like 5 times. It's amazing.
It's absolutely like something I wish a lot more public schools and education would replicate. There's so much of the school that is constructed and designed by the students themselves to make it more integrative and involved for their learning. Things that they want to know about. It's not just, drawing on the walls or having a bunch of, recess toys. There's students that want some of the, ceiling panels to be open so they can get an idea of like if they wanted to do electrician work or if they wanted to do more carpenter or construction work. There's things that like they had the 3D printers up there for the kids that want to get more into tech and technology, and it's just very open-minded and inclusive. I was just breathtaking, really.
Correct. And so it was amazing. I'm really glad that you, allowed me to, you contacted us and allowed us to be a part of that.
Hey, I'm just happy to, have you guys want to help with the objective, because ultimately that's something I definitely want to do again coming this fall and, reoccurring years to come. But it's just something that I feel like really needs to just be more out there, known that there's a place for people to get help and get support for those that are really down in hard times, because that before 2017 was just hidden knowledge from me, and it's a literal diamond in the rut.
Correct. Correct. I was actually contacted whenever we had put up the whole event. I was contacted, and I was told that a person that's close to me is one of my friends. He actually attended the school.
Really?
Yeah. So it was really just a special, project. So yeah, I'm most definitely for doing it again this year and next year and the following years.
So what does a day in the life of Susie Rogers look like? I mean, you said you got 2 LLCs, you run a nonprofit. I know you're a mother, you got a lot of family members. What's a day in the life look like?
Busy. It's very busy. I'm also attending college, so I'm trying to get my bachelor's in public administration so I can solidify my credentials as being a CEO and as the president of a nonprofit.
Congratulations on making your way back.
Yeah, thank you. So it is really busy, most definitely worth it. I do have a very big family. So being able to assist them also is really important. My children, giving them, that pathway that they can follow. Something that it's me reaching my dreams and then making my dream reality, and then making it as big as I can. So if I can do it, so can they. If I can do it, anyone can. I've had a really interesting life. So, if I can do it, anyone.
That's the dream. I mean, I think that's why, there's this clip, I can't remember the movie per se, but it was George Clooney and a couple other more recognizable actors, and he's discussing about why children love professional football players, and they're like, oh, because they get to get with all the models and whatnot, and he's like, no, that's why we like the football players, but they like the football players because they get to chase their dreams, they get to live out the dream that they desire each and every day. And that's something that so many people, whether it was their financial circumstances, life circumstances, whatever it may be, have to give give up or settle for something more down to earth. And it's something that I want to be able to eventually help people not have to become so tethered to this reality of, working a standard 9 to 5 to be able to live comfortably, but able to, live a life that facilitates their needs, not just financially, but emotionally and mentally. It's more nourishing. Like, there's jobs out there that, you could make a lot of money, but there's just people that are miserable at the same time. Some people can't sit in a cubicle for 8 hours, let alone 40 hours a week and, stay sane. There's some people that can't do, outside work, whatever the case may be. And just finding that common ground for everybody to be happy with what they do is just what I would really love to be able to make possible.
Correct. See, and we weren't taught that. And I'm actually writing a research paper. So this is really a really cool subject. But so we weren't taught in, high school that, the other side of, success. So success is what you make it. So, if you want to, open up a business, you are able to. It's not that hard to open up an LLC here in Oklahoma City or a nonprofit. So if you're wanting to do that, follow your dream. Nothing should be standing in your way, or you shouldn't allow anything to stand in your way to reach your dream.
Speaking of things that have been, standing in our way and kind of holding us back, I remember initially bringing up, having you on the podcast about something Kevin Samuels, recently deceased, was saying, and it was something I wanted to ask you further about more in detail to get better understanding of how you came across it, how it made you feel, and what you took from it. Is it something that you've heard throughout your life? Is it something recent?
This was actually recent. So I had a little bit of free time. Now, how I even found it was going through YouTube. And so, I'm going through different, different things that they say about, women that are, older. So the reason why this even touched me, the reason why I stopped and I listened and I researched more into this particular topic is because myself, I have a birthday here in 3 weeks, and I will be 35. And so, hearing him specifically say 35 is, kind of made me stop and think like, okay, what is he saying? Why is he saying this? But I initially found it on YouTube, just going through different things.
So what did he initially say about women that were 35?
So what he said was that women that aren't married and that are considered single and over the age of 35 are leftovers. So I'm, thinking about that because for one, I'm like, why would he choose the age 35? And trying to understand where, the logic and reasoning was for him to even say that.
So did he give any more details about that? Did he just say that and kind of move on?
No, he was actually, he said that, specifically, he said, I'm not going to be able to, completely say it word for word, but he was saying that men know that there's something wrong with women that are 35 and single. And so there's something wrong with you. And he said that, a woman can't be an adjustable 6 or higher because there's something wrong with them.
Interesting. An adjustable 6. So how did that make you feel hearing something like that?
It made me angry. I was upset.
Absolutely.
I really was upset. It hurt my feelings because it's not just myself that's listening to this. I have a daughter. Mm-hmm. She's 11. You know, women as well as men. So it's not just women. So I don't want to exclude men, but you know, women, we grow up and we hear a lot of things. A lot of things that will keep us from showing who we really are. So it's just, I'm sorry, like if there's something like I keep clearing my throat, so I do apologize about that.
You're okay.
But it's just something else that's put on our plate. And it wouldn't have been a big problem, like if he didn't have like such a huge, if he didn't have a huge following. So I went and researched himself on YouTube, and he had 1.49 million subscribers. Wow. So there was a lot of people that have heard, you know, what he said. Women, men, teenage women, men, like I hate that was even said.
I completely get that. You know, what kind of message do you think that, you know, would resonate with people from your perspective?
It would give women over 35 a horrible definition. So people are going to look at us like we are leftovers. And I don't want anyone that's, that is in that age bracket or that is going to reach that age bracket to feel like they are going to be like this, because they're not. Like, it's what he said wasn't backed by any type of, statistical facts or, like any type of logic. It was really, it sounded like it was really sexist to me. Like, I just don't understand. Like, because he didn't ever say anything about men. It was just women over 35. But he doesn't know what, people go through. He doesn't know what people, endured to get to that point. What about the women that are widowers? But he did make valid points. Like, I understand. It's just, that shouldn't have been said.
It's something I've came across this page a couple of times, before he'd passed away, and he has been impartial, whether it was men or women, but a lot of the people, at least from, what I saw on there, were either it was men that, let's say, were unemployed or working somewhere maybe, I don't know, part-time, something low-paying, but were also expecting, let's say, in his words, a higher tier woman to pay him mind, give her, or give him her time, etc., and was just really frustrated about why he wasn't obtaining these, women or this kind of luxury of dating, women that are entrepreneurs or that could be models, etc., etc. And then there was women that I also saw in there were, one of the things that I really took away from one was she was probably in her 20s. She was with this one individual. He was working, he was taking care of everything. And I think when he was asking her, do you know your worth? What are you bringing to the table? She's like, oh, well, I cook, I clean, I'm his piece. And he's like, are you sure that you're actually his piece? Because it sounds like to me, if he's taking care of all these other things and you're still making, more demands towards him, how much of piece is he really at the end of the day? And that was something that kind of stuck out to me, where I'm like, okay, he at least is like not entirely biased just on like a black and white scale, but to hear him say, any woman that's over 35 or a woman over 35 with kids is leftovers, is just really interesting to me, because obviously it's a personal preference. There's not something that's just out there on a billboard or on any type of, sheet, Scantron, anything like that you have a right or wrong answer to. But more importantly, I think it's something that as long as we ourselves don't identify with that, it can't have any power or control over us, because ultimately, at least from what I saw on his show, he was really identifying with people that want to appear of status, that care about money and the materials, and he was being very blunt and frank about them, asking the question of how do I become rich, or how do I get where you're at? And he's like, well, how much are you working? Because if you're not working 50 to 60 hours, I don't want to hear that, you're working enough because you're not putting in enough time to do so. Or if you really want to, I don't know, become some type of figure or status, how many posts are you making? How many people are you interacting with, etc. But at the same time, to be able to comfortably make a statement like that could easily be detrimental to, women, especially younger women, like you were saying, for daughters, that obviously wouldn't sit well with majority of people.
Correct. Which, with his other, everything that, that he has said with, helping people be successful, which, I completely agree. I do agree with something he said, some of the things that he was saying during this particular topic, but it's still diverting and particularly, picking just that subject. So, he's successful, he was very successful, helping others get here, but still some things that, may have worked for this person isn't going to work for another person. Absolutely. So, but giving people that outline, it's really good. I needed that outline to get where I am. It's just, we just don't need anyone being pinpointed.
Yeah, they kind of, put X amount of, population or demographic on a hot seat there, and it's something that, at least quite frankly to me, I'm just like, what is even wrong with leftovers? I quite frankly love leftovers. We're talking about the day after pizza. There's certain places it only tastes better the day after. It's not bad the first initial day that you get it, but it just tastes better the day after. I can't remember the particular pizza place, but that cold pizza the next day is just what is it? I can't even remember the Italian word. It's magnifico, something like that. But it is just, it's great. So to hear, the comparison of these, type of women to leftovers, it's just I'm curious why he picked that word. Why did he pick that type of phrase exactly?
Exactly. That's what I don't like. I don't like, because words are very impactful. So really watching what you say, because I did pinpoint leftovers. Okay, maybe if he would have said something a person that is over the age of 35 has been through a lot, so they have some things that you may have to deal with. Mm-hmm. People that have been through breakups, they do have a wall. Or, people that have been through abuse, they do have, certain, trust issues. But to be classified as a leftover isn't, I don't think that was a good word choice.
Absolutely not, because at least, it's always interesting to me. You of course remember the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And
that's a complete lie.
Yeah, the more I get into psychology, I'm literally thinking to myself, sticks and stones may break my bones, but trauma lasts a lifetime. There's no way around it. But it's just crazy, because everything that I've seen from him, right, at least when it's going back and forth of, why why don't I have this? You know, I deserve this. It's a lot of people that come from at least an entitled approach to where he then is like, okay, well, how old are you? What do you weigh? What do you make? All these different things, because when they're demanding these material requests, he's then coming back with material responses. And for a request like that of like, you know, oh, if you're 35 and single or a mother, there's clearly something wrong with you, or, you know, you're leftovers. The only way that I could, you know, make sensible knowledge of that is like you see, you know, memes and posts all the time where there's these women that have, say, let's say a certain individual that was interested in high school, they just wanted to take care of them, et cetera, never gave them the time of day, but now that they're 35, the bad boy had left them with whatever, you know, life circumstance, maybe they have kids, maybe they don't, and then they're coming back to this nice guy who's made something of himself and is expected to then give her the time of day because he was interested all this time ago. And I'm like, that would make a lot more sense to me of like, oh no, now that you know, lived your life and got exactly where you're going, now you want to come back to me. That would, you know, make more of a applicable sense. Not even the word leftovers, but you in a sense left the entree on the table to go chase dessert, and now that you actually want some soul food, you're gonna come back, but it's not available anymore. But to just say that and just have no context, that's just offensive.
See, that's what I'm thinking. See, with the subject that you're speaking about, there should be another podcast.
Oh yeah,
because people do that, and so that's a whole different, you know, subject. But this one here is just pinpointing everybody over 35 is women. There's something wrong with us. I'm like, why does there have to be something wrong with us? There's really, there's something, technically speaking, there's something wrong with everyone.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter your age. There's something wrong with everyone. We are not perfect. We're not even perfect being ourselves. Some of us don't even know who we are, so we can't even perfectly be us. So it's just,
you know,
why?
Especially for him to, you know, pass away maybe a year and a half later of, you know, heart attack. Clearly that, you know, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, whether it's early on in their life or maintaining it in the mid to later terms. So to see something, you know, just kind of thrown out there like, oh, you know, there must be something wrong with you because you're at this age, but then all of a sudden pass away at, I think it was like 50, 55 of a heart attack. I'm like, well, clearly there's something wrong with you too. It's just kind of a facade or a front for, say, to just get the people to believe that you're something that you're not. And that ultimately is what social media and a lot of these, you know, entertainers or these, what are they called now? They're influencers. Like, it's just interesting to me.
That's exactly what he was. So this particular topic here is gonna fall right into that. There's gonna be something else that is going to have people afraid of being who they are.
There's nobody that, you know, at least in my belief, should be afraid to be who they are, because that inevitably ends you in the same, you know, cycle of settling for a job that you hate because your friends or family think it'd be better for you, or because you would make enough money to pay your, you know, your bills and your livelihood or whatever it may be. And then they're just stuck in this cycle of, well, I did this, so now my kids are going to have to do this. You know, anybody that asks me for help, I can only give them this advice because this is all that I know to work. And it's just, it's not that it's not realistic to me, but it's not realistic in terms of living a happy and fulfilling life, because that is just something I don't choose to believe in. You know, there's so many people that are like, you know, you gotta bring yourself out of the clouds. You gotta be realistic. You gotta be actually planning to something that can happen. And what's crazy to me is there's so many people that had created inventions, they had created patents and tried out all these new things, but just asking the question, what if they were told to be realistic and to, you know, do something else? Would we still be where we're at today? You know, you take out Steve Jobs, you take out, you know, what's his name, Bill Gates, you take out a lot of these people, where would our technology be? What would it look like? We wouldn't be able to have these smartphones and, webcams, all these different things, let alone we bring in Wi-Fi, the internet. We'd still be with like hard copy books, probably driving barely relatively, advanced cars and just living kind of a mundane life. And, I guess the other side of the coin is we might be more, in person and might be more, interactive with people. But if COVID is still on the table, what would a world look like if you can't communicate with others because of COVID, but there's no cell phones, there's no internet, there's no way to keep in touch? It's just self-isolation. So you're just stuck in this paradigm.
Correct. And let's bring in another industry. Let's bring in the music industry.
Oh, yeah.
That artists were told that you can't be you. Like, no, you have to make this type of music. You're not allowed to express who you are. I mean, we wouldn't have, let's go, all the way back to the 1970s when people were, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Everyone was more of, they were lyrical, they were expressing what they were helping people get through problems, people were relating. I mean, where would we be if they weren't able to be who they are?
There's no telling. And the craziest thing about it is so do you know the history behind Billie Holiday, how she, lived her life and, passed away so tragically?
Elaborate.
So Billie Holiday was this phenomenal singer back in the day. There's a beautiful movie documentary on her life. I think it's still on Netflix, I want to say. But basically, the song Strange Fruit, it was sampled by Kanye West, a lot of bigger artists. So Strange Fruit was from her, and it was about the lynchings that were going down in the South of, passing through states like Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and seeing these, African Americans being hung from trees. So she wrote the song Strange Fruit, hanging from the popple trees, and it became so impactful that the U.S. government had made a complete budget of agents and payroll people to make sure she did not perform those songs and to enlighten people on what's going on in the South.
Man, see, we're covering all these topics, and that should be another one. Maybe I should open up my own podcast.
Hey.
No, I'm just joking. But no, that is really interesting. Yeah, because they're influencing the mass crowd. Your words, once again, are very impactful. So you have to watch what you say, because people are listening. People are watching.
It's always what's the word? It's not the man who shows up in a suit and tie every day to work that shows you who he really is. It's the man that wears the mask that'll unveil who he really is. It's one of those things where if you have complete anonymity, I think that's what it is, being completely anonymous to whatever consequences could be, that's the type of individual that they genuinely are at their core. And if people were using this to facilitate their dreams and the growth and change they want to see in the world, to just see so many entities and, powers of operation of government try to stifle and get in the way of that just amazes me, because ultimately, if people were actually doing what was best for them, a lot of the businesses we see and know today would not be functioning.
All right. But you don't want a mass crowd that you can't control.
No, of course not. That would be unfortunate.
Yeah, who wants that?
It's something that it astonishes me, because the more people that gain their autonomy, that learn how to build and, maintain their self-worth, their time, their energy, it's like not only do they feel better, they perform better in their daily life, they appreciate more of the things that they have in it, but it's also the people that are used to being able to control, manipulate, gaslight, all of these different things in their life, and now going, well, I like the person that you used to be. You changed so much and we don't even know who you are anymore. And I'm like, but isn't that the point of life, is to grow and evolve and change and become better than you were previously?
It is. I've actually been told that in my life, and I'm glad. I mean, when I hear it, I'm like, okay, that means I'm improving. You just aren't accepting my improvement. But as long as you accept your own improvement, then it's good. Just continue being you.
Exactly. And that was something I wanted to, correlate into, of like, what in the, speech, podcast, whatever it is that you heard it from, made you decide that what he had to say should have any value or place in your life, let alone anybody else who's listening. No different than the people back in the day that decided, African Americans, people of color, weren't smart enough to work regular jobs or weren't, civilized enough to be included in society. If we choose to believe these, standards or stigmas, stereotypes that they place onto us, do we actually become the stereotype itself, or do we still have our autonomy to decide if this is who we are or not?
So, the reason why it even had any type of impact towards me is, for one, me growing up, I've always told everyone, hey, I'm 35, I'm going to be, who I want to be and on my way to millions. Like, that's the age that I, pinpointed. And so, seeing that age, and I'm like, I'm almost there. But then I'm like, okay, so now there's other, speculations, there's other, things people are saying, and it touched me in a way to where I'm like, I'll sit back, think about it. I already know who I am and who I need to be. But if it touched me for even a couple of moments, just imagine someone that doesn't know who they are, that is reaching that age, that doesn't know who they are. They have really low self-esteem. There isn't any motivation there. It's just putting that extra there that shouldn't be there.
It's ultimately, clouding their judgment, their sense of self and worth. It's a plague at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's not just their judgment. It's other people's judgment. So if I've seen it, they've seen it. So I just want to make sure that it's known that it's just that it shouldn't have been said. It was just for a choice. And with him telling us that, when he said, I'm going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not, it's not the truth. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing that can stand behind that. There's no statistical data behind that. There's nothing. It's just what he said. And it did take me a couple of moments to, tell myself, this is just what he said.
Absolutely, because what I've learned and experienced through life, there's always multiple truths. There's your truth, there's other people's truth, and then there is the truth, the medium in between. And a lot of times we have to be able to be comfortable and accepting in the fact that sometimes our truth is going to be the only one that ends up mattering in the end, because their truth is ultimately what they're going to live, or the truth won't be heard or let out. So when it comes to finding yourself, your self-esteem, your worth, how did you do that growing up? What was your way of discovering that?
Discovering of who I am?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I've known who. Okay, no, I didn't know me today, but I've always had like that sense of thinking out of the box, because I've always been called weird. I've always been told that I didn't think like others. So a lot of people's words didn't affect me back then. So like I was saying, at the age of 15, I wanted to open up a nonprofit. I already knew what I was here to do, and that's what I was going to do. And so it's just kind of, setting things in place, getting the experience that I need, even working with my tribal town, getting that experience, because I knew I knew what I needed to do. I had my purpose.
So finding this purpose, you had a dream, you had an idea in mind, and really you made a plan and you stuck to it. What was it like to make this plan, to make these efforts towards, your goal and people not seeing it?
Interesting. It was hard. And there was a lot of things that have been said to me that once again, I have to sit back and think like, hey, they're just not thinking like through the years, I was in a relationship to where the more that I developed into who I needed to be, the more of a backlash that I was getting. So that's not just from relationship, that was from family, that was from friends. Telling me that I was changing and they didn't like it. There was things that I'm like, no, this can't be in my life, because it's gonna cause a really big influence in my future life. So trying to reach what I have reached now is really, really hard.
So when you set forth on this journey, you probably had an idea that people weren't going to understand it, they weren't going to see the end picture, but you still pursued it anyway. Would you say it was worth it?
It's completely worth it. It's completely worth it. I'm doing what I've been wanting to do since I was 15. I'm helping as many people as I can. I have the ability to help people. I'm able to, take food out to, others. I love it. I love what I'm doing. I want to be able to expand it to where I can help as many individuals as I can with no questions asked. They didn't see it. They didn't see why I was making the steps I was making, the sacrifices that I was making at the time, but they're beginning to see now.
It's so fulfilling to me to listen to people's stories of them, having a dream, going out and chasing it regardless of the odds, what people believed, how many people doubted them, etc., because that's what they were going to do. And, I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, there is a beautiful line I heard, I believe it was from Diddy, it could be from Kanye, either or. It was basically, I don't choose to live in reality because reality confines me to what it says is possible. I choose to live in my imagination so then I can take the impossible and make it reality. And it's something that I really resonate with, because as a creative, as a individual who wants to take something from my own thoughts, visions, dreams, etc., and bring it to reality, a lot of times there's going to be isolation and being misunderstood and judged because people aren't able to see what you're saying. But ultimately, as long as you follow through with the swing, you're going to make it to the hole at the end of the day. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the results. They're looking for the outcome. They're looking for the, what's the word? I guess the rewards that come with it. If you're going to make music, are you going to be famous? Are you going to be rich? Are you going to be all these things? If you're going to start a business, it all ties into what the majority of the world sees as success. But ultimately, like what you were saying, success is defined personally. Success could be, if you're happy doing what you're doing, that's success, especially if you can take care of yourself in the process. Success is, waking up and not dreading going to work. You could work 7 days a week and still be perfectly fine with it. Success could be, being able to work but still spend time with family, being able to work from home, being able to travel. It could be a number of different things, but the more that you let exterior people decide that for you, the more that the interior part of yourself will, have conflict and ultimate turmoil with that.
Correct. And that, it brings up something that I think about a lot. And so, you're born with talent. People are born with a purpose. But with talent specifically, they say if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that does go with, like your goals in life. I don't like to call them dreams. My dream, that was my dream, but I eventually changed it to a goal. This is what's going to happen. And so I made a post the other day, and the post says, dreams are dreams until you make them goals in reality, because goals are something that you're going to reach and dreams are just dreams. So just as long as you are continuing that path to reach your goals, you're okay. Just don't let anything stand in your way.
Absolutely, because ultimately the only person that can stand in the way of your success is you. It's just deciding which side of the fence you want to stand on. There's a lot of people that, bring up the old scenario of, the grass is greener on the other side, but sometimes the grass is fake. It's not what you think it is. It's astroturf. It's not even real.
Right.
I've always wanted to, be able to look back, when I have, a family of my own, and look at the things that I've had to endure and overcome and the lessons that I learned along the way, and of course pass it down. But they can only absorb so much of it at each period of their life. So with your children, what is a lesson that either you've already shared or excited to share with them that you've learned?
That is the easy one. Be yourself. That's a lesson that I try to, embed in them every day. Be you, and it does not matter what anybody thinks about you. If you're comfortable with, unless you're going around and hurting people and stuff, but no, you're made to be unique for a reason, and you don't have to be like everybody else.
Absolutely. Everybody is a literal snowflake in that they're unique in their own design. There's no 1-2 persons, of course, with the exception of twins that are exactly the same. Even then, twins have their own individual quirks and characteristics that separate them from their own, siblings. And it's something that, the more people indulge and entertain the idea of that and being unique and being themselves, being creative, whatever it is, that I feel like we'll be able to make the progress that we are actively doing to make the change we want to see.
Right. And the change that you see, no one else. So if you see that you can change something, then do it, because no one's in your head. No one can see, what you're doing or what you want to do. And so it's just, if you want to change it and you know that you can, then do it. That's why they have suggestion box at companies, at the whole idea box. Because not everybody can come up with every idea.
2 heads are better than one, but what's 2 heads in comparison to 40, there's so much growth and development that occurs, when people work collectively towards the same goal. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing, once your nonprofits and LLCs get where they're going, once people become more open to change for self-improvement, therapy, all those things, where do you see your own goals and achievements going to be in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, my own goals. I have a few different goals because, I have a few different, I have the organization. I want to get more back involved into my tribe, so that's another goal. But with my LLCs, I want to make sure that they're thriving. We're getting as many projects as we can. The majority of all of this, even my LLCs, like everything is surrounded, around the nonprofit. And so I would want to say my biggest goal would be to get my nonprofit to the point to where we are a multi-million-dollar organization where we can assist in multiple different categories. So we'll have multiple different programs that are being funded by the state or federally, or by private, organizations, but just we have enough to assist mass quantity of people.
That's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for you and the things you're going to achieve because it's going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to see what it's going to be.
It's going to be great. I know it will.
Absolutely. If there's one thing that you could say to the listeners right now on this podcast, whether it pertains to the leftover comment or there's any knowledge, these hidden gems of information that we all acquire throughout our journeys, what would you tell them?
I will tell them, once again, be yourself. Continue reaching your dreams, no matter what anybody says. And to continue living. As long as you live, you'll make it through anything.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, Susie. I can't even remember. I feel like the last time I saw you was when we were helping out with, Positive Tomorrows. I genuinely think that, obviously we need to do that again, but,
I was going to say Juneteenth of last year, but it would have to be during the project with Positive Tomorrow.
I'm like, I got to start making schedules to not only have more in-person interviews, but setting more aside time to see people, because I feel like, of course, people are now adjusting and getting used to going back out in the world, but I'm just like, man, everybody's just been so busy lately, and I'm like, I'm trying to find time for everybody.
Ditto.
There was an announcement I wanted to make. Of course, I'm sure you saw it already, but I have the absolute honor and pleasure of being able to perform in this year's Juneteenth with 103.5 and Perry Broadcasting. It'll be this upcoming Saturday on the 18th at 1:45. Absolutely excited. I've been literally dying to make this announcement because I'm like, I want to tell people, but it's not official. They don't have the flyer. And what am I going to say outside of words? I need pictures. Pictures get people excited. If there's a video, it would just be that much more better. But now that it's finally out there and I can start telling people, I'm like, yes.
Oh my gosh. You know how long I've been waiting to see you perform.
I've been waiting so long to perform. This whole recovery process has been a journey. Dealing with COVID has been a journey. So finally getting back to performing shows and, achieving those same goals that were once dreams. I'm going to do Juneteenth and, eventually I'm going to do South by Southwest, and the list goes on. And I'm just like, yes, I'm making progress. I'm making these dreams become a reality. And I'm just so grateful for it.
And see, if you weren't you, and continuing with the talent that you are blessed with, you wouldn't be doing this particular. But you continue. I think you're amazing. Your music is amazing. So I'm most definitely going to be there.
And I was just about to ask if you were going to be able to make it.
I'm going to be there.
Well, you better, because now I'm going to be looking for you in the crowd. There's just, I don't know, it's something about having familiar faces in the crowd that just, it like lights a fire in me, because I'm like, ooh, there's so many people I know here. I get to go perform all this music I've been just stacking up for what feels like forever now, and just finally get to present the manifestation of, my creative side, this, process of literally taking what I've been dreaming of doing, bringing it out there on a stage that I'd never thought I would get to perform, a year ago after, being in that accident. And it's just, it's just like, it's so like humbling, but also like exhilarating at the same time.
You're going to touch a million.
One day at a time is what I keep telling myself. Every Monday there's just going to be a little more people, and hopefully they come across this podcast and they're like, what? This guy's out here trying to better people. He's got, good information. He wants to be a activist, not only for, his community, but for everyday people trying to do better for themselves. Like, I just want to, I don't know, be that source of hope or inspiration for those that really need it.
But those are the people that I want to stand behind.
Absolutely.
I'm a fan, and I will stand behind you.
Well, I look forward to seeing you stand in front of me at this, big old event, Juneteenth, next Saturday on the 18th at 1:45. Please come out, show some support to your local vendors, show support to your local artists, and of course, come have a chat with me and Susie. I'm going to have some t-shirts available. I'm going to be signing a couple CDs that I have, little demos that I have printed off, and I'm excited. So excited.
I'm going to share it because I think a lot of people need to get out there and see it. It's a huge celebration. It's a celebration that everyone, I think, should take part in. And I'm there and I'm sharing it.
Absolutely. I mean, is this your first Juneteenth?
No. I was there last year.
That is right, yeah, because I remember running into, I believe it was you, my grandma, and then somebody else.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to go, but a really good friend of mine, she actually took me. So I was really glad that I got to go. I got to meet a lot of new people, a lot of artists and business owners. So it's a really good networking event too.
Man, it's crazy how, life kind of works like that. I didn't really plan on it, but I ended up here and it was a great time. Met all these people. I'm just like, wow.
It was amazing.
Look at the universe doing its thing. Look at God. Isn't that just beautiful?
Well, I want to most definitely thank you for allowing me to discuss this topic and allow me to speak about who I am, what I went through.
Yes, ma'am. It's an absolute honor to have you on the podcast, to hear your story, to allow people to resonate and identify with the things that you've gone through and experienced. So if there's anything else, you want to chat about in the future, please reach out. Let me know, because this is the place to do it. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve and help people change, because just because an older gentleman on Instagram was like, if you're 35, you're a leftover, doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean that just because somebody has a lot of followers on, TikTok or whatever it is, that their words or information has any volume to it. So the truth that is our existence is completely in our own hands, and the sooner that we see that and start molding it into what we want to see, the better that life will be itself. So thank you so much for being on the podcast again, having this conversation, and I look forward to seeing you Juneteenth this Saturday.
I most definitely will. I do want to say one last thing. I've spoke about my nonprofit, but I haven't given the name. So I do want to give the name. My nonprofit is called MLB Cherishable Memories. We are located here in Oklahoma City. And so if you would like to reach out to us, we will most definitely reach back, and we appreciate all the love and support.
Yes, ma'am. Please reach out to her. Be an activist in your community. If you want to see the change, you want to be a part of it, please get out there. Even if it's just a couple dollars, couple t-shirts, however you can help, whatever is going on to help, make the time, make the effort, reap the fruit that you were trying to bear.
All right.
Thank you so much, Susie. I will see you this Saturday. And once again, thank you for tuning into the podcast. I'll see you guys next week. This is Growth is Hard.
Thank
My soul
you.
wanna break out the labyrinth. I too wanna break out the casket. I do. Then they wonder what happened. Back from the dead, I should've said it was killing me. I set up boundaries. Trump with the border, and now you're supporting the immigration. Cause I've been there when you needed me most. To get you high even when I was low. Did it then, but I don't do it no more, man. Growth is hard. 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 Growth is always worth it. Growth is. Growth is. Growth is. Growth is.